The story of Relaxing to Birth really starts when I saw the two little pink lines on my pregnancy test confirming that I was indeed pregnant. This happened way back when, in January 2011. When I saw those two little lines, I was over the moon, so overjoyed, so happy. I ran to my husband and he was so happy too. And we both cried with joy. But I remember thinking that the very first thought I had was that I just did not want a vaginal birth. I was like, having a Caesar, of course I'm having a Caesar. That's just what everybody does. And there's just no way this baby's coming out of there. So my husband looked at me and said, Charlene, millions of women have given birth before you. What's wrong with you? You should at least try. So I was highly irritated with this comment because he doesn't have a vagina. But anyway, went off to the doctors, chose a random doctor at a random hospital, didn't do any research into any of this. Arrived there and said to the doctor, please can you give me a Caesar date so that I can get my hair done, nails done, I can arrive ready for my Caesar and know when it's going to happen. And he looked at me with a face like this, quite irritated, and said to me, Charlene, I'm not that kind of doctor. If you want that kind of birth, then you really need to go to the other hospital over there, not naming any names. So I was like, well, what does a girl have to do to get a Caesar in this town? He said, I suggest that you go and do your research before you come asking me for a cesarean birth. So off I went. And as one does, you either go on holiday or you go renovating your house or you move or you do something big. But we went on holiday to Botswana and stayed with my husband's family. And in the house with us at the time was his aunt in her early 80s and in the early stages of Alzheimer's. So every day of our holiday there, she would see my pregnant belly and every day she would say, oh, you're pregnant. And then she would launch into her birth stories every single day of our holiday. So her birth stories were drummed into my head. And they went as follows. Her two sons were born a few years apart in the UK with a gynecologist that was also her hypnotherapist, right? So when she was birthing these two boys a few years apart, who are now in their 50s, she remembered walking somewhere on the beach in her mind while pushing these boys out. And every time the doctor would leave the room, then she'd lose focus a little bit. But when he was there with her, it was manageable, comfortable, and she couldn't remember a lot of pain. So I found this all very interesting, especially because of the fact that she kept telling me the same story every single day. Amazing. And the fact that her birth story was what she remembered the most. And that was a trigger for her, seeing my pregnant belly. So when I got back home, I Googled hypnosis and birth. Didn't even know such a thing as hypnobirthing existed. And there, on my doorstep, was a hypnobirthing course. So I dragged my husband along to the course. And from planning this hospital elective cesarean birth, we decided to have a home birth with the midwives in our town. And it was the most amazing experience. I chose Birth Options Midwives. They're quite famous in Cape Town, South Africa, for their amazing work in midwifery. So I had a home birth with them. I had a home water birth with Angela Wakeford, and my little boy came swimming out of the water. And I remember his little face coming up out of the water to greet me. And in the background, I had my hypnobirthing tracks playing the whole time as a very encouraging voiceover, which I couldn't have made it through without. So it was just such an amazing experience to have such a wonderful team of support around me, the midwives, my husband, who was fully prepared, and to have my baby born in a pool of water at home. It really was a 180-degree turn that I had made in my decision to have a home birth. It wasn't a decision that I'd taken lightly. And indeed, this course is not about having or encouraging you to have a home birth. It is rather about teaching you tools that you can use for your labor. And it is really about learning everything that you can so that you feel more prepared and your husband and your partner feels more prepared, so that you can go forward and have a wonderfully manageable, comfortable, and most importantly, empowered birth experience. So that's what I hope to impart with you through this course. I created Relaxing to Birth in 2015 with mothers and fathers or birth partners in mind. It was my passion from the beginning to make sure that parents felt equipped and ready for this beautiful big day in their lives. The course will teach you all you need to know about natural pain relief methods, relaxation tricks and tools, hypnobirthing techniques, and massage tips and methods, so that mothers, their birth partners, fathers feel more equipped and ready for the day of their birth. Mothers leave the course feeling empowered and knowledgeable about their bodies and the experience they are about to embark on. And fathers feel like doula dads. They feel like they are trained birth companions, so that they can also help mothers and know what to do in the labor room on the day of the birth. Relaxing to Birth is highly recommended by obstetrician gynecologists and midwives alike, because they have witnessed firsthand how relaxation can impact a mother in labor. It is a non-medical course, and it is the perfect addition to regular midwife-run antenatal courses. Relaxing to Birth is the very first proudly South African online hypnobirthing course of international standard, teaching women, their partners from all over the world, deep relaxation techniques and tools for a more comfortable and manageable birth experience.
I used Charlene's Relaxing to Birth hypnobirthing program to help prepare for a VBAC with our second child. I listened to Charlene's tracks from about my second trimester right up until I was in labor. I would listen to them in the morning, I would listen to them in the afternoon, and then in the evenings I would often fall asleep to her tracks. When I was in labor, I felt fearless, I felt in control, and I felt empowered. Throughout the labor, her words became an anchor for me, and her words became a mantra that I said over and over in my head. I ended up having a drug-free birth, and I owe so much of that to hypnobirthing and what Charlene taught me. Her workshop educated me about birth and labor and a woman's body, and that knowledge with the hypnobirthing tracks helped me to prepare for one of the most empowering, defining moments of my life, a birth that I'm proud of. And afterwards, I felt strong, calm, like I'd done what I was meant to do. And I owe so much of that to Charlene. Charlene is an incredible woman. She's calm, she's sensitive, but powerful. And I would recommend her to anyone that's considering hypnobirthing. Everyone needs to do hypnobirthing. It is incredible, and I think all women need to be educated on what hypnobirthing is and what it can do for them.
My name is Katie Cheng. Partner is Tian Cheng. We were blessed to welcome our little girl, Ava Cheng, on the 5th of April, 2018. We had an abdominal birth. It was an unplanned cesarean section, emergency C-section, and we were blessed to have Charlene as our doula. We welcomed Ava at Vincent Pallotti Hospital. It was a cold, rainy April day, and just as she was born, the sun burst through the clouds, and that was a very good omen for us, considering the build-up and the eventual birth. We attended the Relaxing to Birth classes, and that was my first introduction to what a doula is. I didn't know anything about that. All I knew was that I was anxious and I felt very ill prepared going into the labor, going into the birth, and I had no idea what to expect. The classes definitely helped us just become more in tune with this journey we were about to take. For myself and for my partner, we don't really know much when it comes to things like aromatherapy, essential oils, and just being physically present. And Charlene helped us to just be more aware, and she also introduced us to a brand new term that I'd never heard, which was holding the space. And so through her classes we learned about holding the space, and the journey of going into labor is something that a woman definitely doesn't do alone. You do it with a team, and just being equipped and empowered of knowing that you're okay and that anything that happens, your body is designed to do it. Those classes helped us with that, and the meditation tracks that we gave just cemented that. Being able to listen to that in the lead up to my induction helped calm me down. Yes, baby. Helped bring me to this point of realizing something new was happening for us, and just being prepared no matter what turn this adventure would take. And so listening to the meditation tracks assisted me in being more centered and being more self-aware, and just understanding that this is natural and that there is no right way to have a birth. And I think that also allowed us to overcome the fact that it didn't necessarily go as planned, but we were still blessed to have had Charlene and everybody else that works with her in her team help us welcome Ava into the world. So if you're wondering whether it's worth it, I can definitely say it is. For somebody who doesn't know much about these type of things, I was educated, I was empowered, and I felt prepared. And whether it's your first birth or your fourth birth, having a doula, having someone like Charlene, and attending these Relaxing to Birth classes, it's definitely worth your time. So to Charlene, all I can say is thank you.
Hi, we are the Birch family. I'm Lisa and my partner's name is Lindsay.
Hi there.
And this is Hunter, and he's 8 months old at the moment. We had him at Vincent Pallotti Hospital on the 13th of August last year. Charlene was our doula, and he's actually our second child. Okay.
Oh, Bubby. Where's your big brother?
Yeah, the first is 4 years old. We had Charlene as our doula, and it was amazing. I honestly don't think I could have done it without her, and without having the tracks to prepare my mind and my heart. I wanted to do a vaginal birth without medication and without any intervention, and I think at the end of it, I got that experience. It wasn't as planned. It was incredibly wild and roller coaster like, and definitely would not have been the same without preparing everything that I did with the tracks and at the course. I think the course quite helped my partner Lindsay.
Yes, I would agree. It eased a few worries.
And it helped him. I think I don't really recall much during the birth, but I think he did massage at some point. I do definitely recall at one point Charlene putting her hand on my shoulder and in the preparation, in the audio tracks, it's spoken about putting a shoulder and putting your hand on your shoulder, and then you're feeling that calmness, and it definitely happened. And it definitely, at one point during a contraction, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and it brought me back into where I needed to be in that moment. And at one point I was very much considering having an epidural, which I had with my first child, and the discussion was happening, and all I wanted was just that relief and that epidural to help me. And I looked at Charlene, and she didn't have to say anything. She just looked at me with those beautiful eyes and said, "You can do it." She didn't say it with a voice, but she said it with her eyes. And I don't even think that I told her that, but now I have. And at that moment, it really helped me, and it made me get through. It made me get through that. So it was all very special.
My name is Shannon Mitchell. I live in Cape Town. My son Jake was born in September 2017. I decided to have a doula as part of my pregnancy and birth journey because I don't have any family members living in Cape Town with me. I don't have any of my close girlfriends here really, so I just kind of wanted a female perspective, a friend, somebody to confide in, to be with me throughout the journey. We attended the Relaxation to Birth course, which was fabulous. Firstly, from a point that I kind of felt like it was a mini pamper session. We learned the different kinds of great back rubs and foot rubs and little extras that hubby could do to help me on the day. But on a more serious note, we gained a completely different perspective on birth with taking the course. The discussion was really, really easy. It was really free-flowing. It was fabulous to be with other couples who were also going through the same thing. A lot of us in the room were first-time parents, much like ourselves. But I think what stood out for me the most was how the female body actually performs during birth. It was something that I hadn't really thought of. You have a lot of fear-based thoughts that come up when, especially with myself wanting to do a home birth for my first birth, so it's you won't be able to do it, it's a silly decision to do it at home for your first birth, you'll be scared, etc., etc. So for me, I had a lot of self-doubt originally, even going into the Relaxation to Birth course, which is what prompted us to attend. But just having the easy discussions with regards to what a woman's body does during birth, I just found absolutely fascinating. There were little details that I'd never thought of, and I kind of came away from everything having the confidence that I was designed to do this. I was created for this. The fascinating part as well is that I thought that my husband had more fear towards the day and towards birth, when in fact I realized that I was actually self-projecting a lot of my fear onto him and creating this thing that I had to almost protect him during birth, and that I wasn't going to be able to completely let go because he was fearful and I needed to kind of keep it more to myself. And during the Relaxation to Birth course, we had to draw a picture and we had to write a couple of words out with our left hand. And I've kept these. So this was my picture that I drew. And as you can see, here's me apparently smiling. This is my husband with a really concerned look on his face. I had the midwife and doula and Charlene kind of planned where they were going to be standing. I kind of had this vision it was going to be happening at night. Some of the words that I chose were welcome, nervous, change, love, and special. Okay, so that was mine, and I thought Jeremy's definitely going to be the one that's more nervous in this picture, and I thought when I do see his, it's going to be a lot of fear-based images. But I got the complete opposite, and I was quite stunned in the moment. These pictures have faded quite a bit. I've just kept them for sentimental reasons. But as you can see over here, my husband's drawn the birth pool, very logically has put the doula and midwife over here, and us, and apparently the new baby. But he chose such beautiful words. One that's very fair that you can't see here is new, intimate, beginning, first, and special. And just in that moment, I felt a different kind of confidence level come through, which was awesome. And there was this release for me. And obviously at that moment I realized that this was definitely the course for us to have done. And it gave me a totally different perspective on my husband, on me being able to just completely relax and enjoy the day, and there was absolutely nothing to fear. Between the two of us, we were going to get this right, and it was all going to be okay. With regards to the audio tracks, they were my absolute go-to throughout my pregnancy. The constant affirmations were a safe zone for me, especially, like I've already mentioned, opting for a home birth. We came across a lot of resistance during the process. I had constant moments of self-doubt. Was I being stupid? Was this the right thing to be attempting? Another thing that the course also taught me was just to relax, and whatever happens will happen. It's all good. It doesn't matter which way it goes. And it got me to a stage where I could mentally prepare for the fact that I might have to go to hospital. That is just the reality of it. And it doesn't matter what kind of birth you have. You're having a birth. Your baby's going to be waiting for you on the other end, which is the most special thing. So, back to the audio, every day I sat and listened to it over and over again. Something quite funny is that during one of the sections of the audio is definitely about the lotus flower. I remember in the moment thinking, I am an actual lotus flower. And when I did my first push and that ring of fire appeared, I just remember hearing Charlene's soft voice in my mind about the lotus flower. And I thought, if I don't turn into this lotus flower immediately, we're going to have problems. It was just, Charlene's got an incredibly soft, gentle voice. She's very warm, she's loving. So for me as well, it wasn't just an audio track, it was knowing her as a person, having spoken to her, having dealt with her. Her entire personality shines through on those audio tracks as well, which was an incredibly safe place for me. But it was kind of funny turning into the lotus flower. And it gave me a lot of confidence. My birth went incredibly quickly. And again, I had this self-doubt playing in my mind because it was a first-time birth, and a lot of people said to me, you're going to be pushing for hours, it's not going to be a quick task. And I actually went into labor the night before at about 11 o'clock at night. I didn't even think I was in labor. I had mild sort of cramping going on. I got up a couple of times for a few glasses of water. I was very, very chilled. In the morning, and I kind of managed that throughout the evening. In the morning, hubby went to work, still checked if I was definitely going to be okay. And I was like, I'm absolutely fine, don't stress. About an hour after hubby had left, a bit of panic set in because I realized I was in full-blown labor and my contractions were closer and closer together. And I thought, this is obviously it. It's time to go. Very stupidly on my part, I was trying to brave it for as long as possible. I hadn't called the doula, Charlene. I hadn't called my midwife. So everything happened really, really quickly. And I was in labor for the worst part of it on my own. So Charlene wasn't able to make my birth, but another fabulous doula came and attended, which was great. I'd already met her throughout the process, so I felt really, really comfortable. And for me, even more so, my audio tracks kicked in because I realized that I'd kind of left it too long, and Charlene was not going to be able to make it. Her audio tracks were working even better at that stage. I remember playing one of them when the contractions started getting really bad and I was waiting for the midwife and my husband to get home. I was playing Charlene's audio track because that was literally all I could do. I couldn't lift myself up, and I had my cell phone with me, and I started playing the audio tracks. It was stunning. It felt like somebody was there with me. You have the little moment of panic that kicks in where you think, am I actually capable of doing this? And without those audio tracks were my saving grace. Without them, I probably might have landed up in hospital, because I did hit a little bit of a small flat panic with not having anybody around to help me. But I just breathed through everything. I remembered all the affirmations, all of the audio tracks, and just managed to kind of keep myself calm, convincing myself over and over again that I was designed to do this. This is going to be okay. In the end, I think labor was probably about 4 hours, not counting the fact that I'd been in labor the night before, because it wasn't really severe enough for me to even count it as labor, even though I was in labor. But I would say for about 4 hours were the contractions, and I feel like active labor. And I think by the time if I recall correctly, by the time my midwife arrived, within an hour my son had been born. I thank the Relax into Birth course, as well as the audio tracks, that my birth happened so quickly. I managed to get into the birth pool, and I was only in the birth pool, I think, for about not even 5 to 6 minutes. And on the second push, Jakey was here, and he was earthside with us. Definitely anybody needing to make a decision on whether to use a doula, whether to attend the Relax into Birth course, whether to use the audio tracks, hands down, 120%, it is definitely worth it. Even more so than just worth it. It is, like I said in the beginning, a friend, someone to confide in, that feeling of not feeling alone. As I felt, at the end of the day, you can have all the support around you, but you need that self-confidence. You have to have that self-confidence, whether it be vaginal birth, whether it be via C-section, whether it be in a hospital, whether it be at home, whether it be in a river. You need that self-confidence. And I found that those audio tracks were definitely my go-to. So thank you so much, Charlene. Thank you for your course. Thank you for everything that the audio tracks did for us. I'm sitting in the room where we gave birth, and it's always my little safe zone to come to. It's always where I feel most comfortable, and I thought it would be more than appropriate to do my recording in here. So yes, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ingrid Roberts. My husband Ryan Roberts and we gave birth to our baby boy Benji last year in November 2018. We were really lucky to be able to have a vaginal birth at Kingsbury Hospital with Charlene as our doula, and she just provided such an incredible amount of support before and after the birthing process. Emotionally and physically, she was really there for us leading up to the birth, and she provided or helped us with her Relax into Birth course, which was fantastic because she explained everything in such a calm and comforting way that it really gave us the confidence to be able to go into Kingsbury Hospital when it was the time for Benji to arrive with confidence. And it was fantastic, and the course it added such value, and Charlene was also so prepared, and she gave us books which detailed all the explanations, and she took the time to really talk to each of us. So it was fantastic, and I would highly recommend Charlene to anybody who's having a baby to become part of their support team.
Hi, my name is Louise Bass, and Charlene was my doula in 2017. She helped make the birth for my husband and I, for Etienne and I, of a beautiful little baby boy, the beautiful experience that it was. I had a vaginal birth at Melamed in Takai, unmedicated, which was not what I'd originally planned, I guess. Well, to be honest, we didn't really plan much of it. The pregnancy was a surprise, and the whole process of getting to where we ended up and how it all happened was really organic and fluid and beautiful in its, I guess, unplanned nature. And Charlene became part of our plan in the way that everything else happened. we ended up going to birth options, and they had an antenatal course, and Charlene did like the 3rd session, I think it was. And my husband and I hadn't been considering a doula before that. We weren't sure if it was a necessary expense. We didn't really know what the role of a doula was. And then after Charlene's session, we realized just how big birth is. I mean, we knew how big the whole thing would be, but I suppose it's, for me, the big difference after Charlene's talk was how important the support is around you. And all the other decisions that we had ended up making to that point were aimed at the most kind of natural way of doing things. So I was quite sure I wanted to be in a hospital, but besides that, I didn't want to do any medication if possible, and but I'd never had a kid before, so I didn't really know what I was in for. And after hearing what a doula does, and after meeting Charlene and just loving her energy, we decided definitely this is what we would love to do, and thankfully Charlene was able to fit us in. So on the actual day, it made a big difference in terms of how the day went, because there were things like music and candles and the rest that you were able to do, battery candles, that you were able to do at Melamed that I don't know if we would have thought about before. And Charlene brought that in, as part of what the experience could be, and it made a very, very big difference. So I had music and we had candles, and it was my space in that time, and having Charlene with her experience and her wisdom to suggest stuff like that, and then to help with the setup and to bring the oils and the candles and everything that we needed was one part of it. And then the other part being the support that she was, the kind word in your ear, the supportive hand, the back rub, the massage, giving Etienne some tasks to do that helped me and helped him not to worry and to be useful. Very, very big and important. We both had an amazing birth, and Charlene really played an important and massive role in that. I was very diligent with her tracks, listening every day, at least once or twice. And then on the actual day, during the birth, I had some music playing on a separate speaker, and then I had Charlene's tracks on my iPod, and I would listen to the tracks while I had contractions, and then the music in between. And it made a very, very big difference. It gave me something to focus on. It gave me something familiar, because I'd been listening to them for months. I knew what was coming. I knew her words. I knew what to follow. And in that moment of which can be quite fearful because of the intense pain, the having something familiar and something calming, and something that I'd found supportive. It made a very, very big difference to get me through those moments. Etienne and I are very, very grateful to Charlene, and she came to our son's naming ceremony 9 months later, because in our mind she was another member of the birth team. She was there. She helped us give birth to our beautiful son, Leonardo.
Good morning. My name is Mikey Cooper. I have 2 boys. My first one was born in 2016 and my second boy was born 2018. They were both vaginal births. My firstborn I gave birth to at Vincent Pallotti Hospital with a midwife and doula. My second boy was born at home with also an independent midwife and a most wonderful doula. I was lucky to do the Relax into Birth course with both my pregnancies. They were incredible pools of knowledge for me and my partner, and not just on a physical level, but also mentally, preparing myself mentally, preparing myself spiritually, really connecting with my own process of birth. I felt incredible empowered afterwards, knowing my rights, knowing my choices, knowing to say no when it feels uncomfortable, knowing I have the right to a positive birth, to my birth, and trusting, letting go of the outcome of it, knowing that whatever way my baby wants to be born will be beautiful, and I am fully empowered to know as to how I can create it and make it a positive and beautiful birth. It was very empowering to learn about our hormones, the hormones that lead up to birth, the hormones during the birthing process, understanding, learning about oxytocin, learning about our love hormones, understanding that it is very important to create a space that we can let go in, that we create a comfortable space, that we feel safe, we feel held, and in whatever way that may be for the individual. But knowing that that is very powerful, how fear, how light, how questions, how going into our mind can create blockages. So to really, it really helped me to know that I've got this and my body can do this, and that I can trust into that process, and that it's not the time to fear. The course was also incredibly powerful for my husband, my other birthing partner. I think it gave them a beautiful understanding of what a woman goes through and of how he can support, because that is the male role in the process, is to support and to hold space, to hold a sacred, a safe space for the mother to let go and give birth in. I could see a very clear shift in his confidence, in his trust, even to the point of completely trusting a home birth, which was very amazing to see him open up that space and actually encourage me to go into that space at the end. So very good for husbands, for birth partners, to know tools, what to do, how can they support a mother, how can they touch a mother, how can they speak to a mother in her most primal state and space. The audio tracks, I did hypnobirthing and the tracks with during both my pregnancies. With the first pregnancy, I still had a lot of time to listen to the tracks, to kind of daily check in with my baby, with myself. They were a beautiful tool for me to address things as they come up, to look at my fears and of whatever came up in the process leading up to birth, and to breathe through them, to work through them, which was just amazing. I felt as it came to birth, a lot of the stuff were processed, a lot of the stuff was worked through and let go of, and therefore allowing me more openness towards the birth itself. With my second pregnancy, it was less time, as I had a toddler running around, but still I made a point, especially in the third trimester, to also daily check in, to really go into my subconsciousness, to really let go, to really soften, to really open. And it was amazing how just hearing the same voice in my birth process just took me straight to that calm space.
My name is Megan Gibbons. My beautiful baby girl Emily was born on the 5th of November 2018, so she's exactly 6 months old today. She was born at Constantiaberg Mediclinic with the help of my midwife Sandy Standish and then my lovely doula Charlene. My husband and I did the Relax into Birth course with Charlene a couple of months or a couple of weeks before Emily was born. And then we also had her as our doula, and we used to listen to her birth tracks. So for me, for us, the Relax into Birth course really just helped me to stay calm and stay present throughout my pregnancy. I think my husband also benefited from it because I think he was not too sure of what to expect, but it made him feel empowered and it made him feel confident and calm throughout the process, and he was able to help me with the help of Charlene being there on the day. But I think for me the biggest thing that I took away was maybe not necessarily during the birth itself, but during the weeks leading up to the birth. So I am quite an anxious person, quite a type A highly strung person, and I think listening to the tracks and just the whole Relax into Birth philosophy really helped me just stay calm and stay positive and not panic. And I felt excited for the birth, and I felt calm and confident, and like it was something that I could do. So I wasn't stressed leading up to the birth, which I think made a massive difference. Emily was born so I had quite a long labor. I was in labor for about 40 hours in total. And Charlene was with me throughout the process. So we went to the hospital and then found out that I wasn't dilated, so I had to come back home, and she came home with me. She did amazing reflexology. She gave me a back rub. She ran me a hot bath. It was so reassuring to have her here, because being my first pregnancy, my first birth, I didn't know what to expect. So having her, so even though the course that we did through her really helped, but having her present was just amazing to help my husband and myself. So little Emily was born on the 5th of November. I had a natural vaginal birth, and things didn't go necessarily as planned, but it was still an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful that I had Charlene with me on the day and leading up to the birth.
I've got 2 boys. My first boy was born via emergency C-section, and my second boy was a successful VBAC. In both cases, I did the Relax into Birth course before giving birth. And with my firstborn, I found that the audio recordings were essential to helping me stay calm during the actual birth. I just kept on remembering the affirmations over and over in my mind in this very, very chaotic birth, and that helped me to remain very, very calm, which was essential to my little boy coming into the world nice and safely. For my second birth, I decided to use Charlene as my doula. She has the most amazing, gentle energy, and we did her course again, and we were hoping for a VBAC, which we did successfully have. I found that the course really helped me to know what to do with regards to pain management. It also helped my husband to know what his role was and how he could get involved in my birth.